Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday it is. I haven't been on here in God knows how long, but of course, I felt inspired to come on and give some commentary. Somebody reached out to me on Instagram and they was like, "We miss you talk your girl talks on YouTube. Like, how come you haven't done it in so long?" And I'm like, you know what? I've been meaning to talk about this topic, and I felt like that was God. Like she came through like dun dun dun, dun. And I was like, you know what? This may be God's sign that I should come on and give some commentary about this whole Derek Jackson and Dania situation and just kind of give my perspective on what it's like or some of the things that women should be aware of when dating men, especially when you're young, you're impressionable, and you're seemingly dating a man that knows he's attractive. I'm not saying that Dania is not attractive because I'm sure if she puts makeup on and does her hair and gets herself together, she's a beautiful woman. But when you're dating a man who knows that he's attractive, um, or but he doesn't have much of anything, it could be easier for him to want to date a woman who, number one, may be impressionable. Good morning, Ebony Locks. Number one, who might be impressionable. Number two, who might be easily controlled. Number three, who might be easy to manipulate. And number four, may be a type of woman that he feels he can mold into the woman that he wants, psychologically. I'm not saying physically, I'm saying psychologically. And for whatever reason, like that's almost the impression I get when I think about Derek Jackson and his wife Dania. I get like he fell in love with her when he didn't have anything. And it's very easy for a man, in my opinion, a man who has not reached his fullest potential to date a woman who he sees as beneath him physically, you know, who might be like, she's not as attractive as I am, or I have a lot more going for myself. She don't really know who she is. She hasn't developed her voice as a woman yet. She's still figuring out life, right? And I'm so much more savvy than her, whether it's from a street smart perspective, whether he's further in his career, whether he's just a lot more outgoing or has more access to like resources. It can be easy for a man like that to prey on a woman like that. And when you are a young woman, you haven't really found yourself, you haven't discovered your essence of like what value you bring to the world and really pour into yourself from a spiritual perspective, from an emotional perspective, from a financial perspective, just like leveling up your life and building a baseline. Good morning, garden girl. Good morning. If you haven't had an opportunity to build as a woman, build a baseline for your life, it can be a very dangerous situation, especially if you get with a man. And I don't know Derek Jackson, but based on all the commentary he was making while living a very different life, it almost comes across as not even just narcissism, because I feel like that's the default thing to fall into, like, oh, he's a narcissist or he's toxic. It's almost to the point of like psychosis and delusion, because if you can, or pathological lying to the point that you might potentially become a psychopath, because to lie so callously to yourself, it's one thing to lie to the world, but to actually be lying to yourself and lie so much to yourself that you come online and you're able to convince the world that you are some stand-up guy who has sort of figured out how men think, and you know how to treat a woman, and you've arrived at some higher level of consciousness, when really you are treating your wife like crap, and you're not paying her any attention, nor are you nurturing the marriage that you have in front of you. And for Dania, to me, she serves as just a cautionary tale to women that when you get a man, a woman can be a damsel in distress. A woman can be broken. A woman can not have her life together and be falling apart. And a successful man who has his stuff together can come into her life, and and it is predatory, Ebony Locks. It is. I was getting to that point. A successful man can come into her life and take care of her, build her, mold her, lift her up, And that woman, if this successful, very successful, powerful man comes into her life, she will feel like, oh my God, like he's done me such a favor. Oh my, I need to live up to the standard that he's, made for me. I need to like live up to all his expectations. But on the contrary, when you meet a man who is poor, you know, and I mean poor, like he don't have enough to really take care of himself. Because if we think about it, Dania and Derek been together since they were basically kids. If you meet a man who doesn't have enough to take care of himself, now you may also be in that same position, like you don't have enough to take care of yourself. That man may not be choosing you. And I'm not saying all men, because some men are normal, right? But I'm just saying from a cautionary tale, that man may not be choosing you because you're the woman of his dreams. He may be choosing you because you're the woman that's going to provide the spiritual space, the energetic space, and the emotional space for him to pull on. Because, some men are energy vultures. Like some toxic men can be energy vampires. And when you meet a woman who is a kind woman, who is a forgiving woman, who is a woman who maybe leads with an open heart and who loves you unconditionally, a predatory man or a toxic man can suck and harvest that energy from you in order to build up his life to where he really wants to be. And I feel that it Derek may have done that to Dania. Like she probably had, like she was spiritually sound, probably had like a light about her, a air about her life, a ease about herself, a calm about herself, just kind of living the day to day. And he, a man comes in and he sucks all of that energy from you, all of that good, all of that peace, all of that calm. He harvests it to level up his life and to benefit himself. And then once he reaches his fullest potential, that man will look back at you and he will no longer recognize you as somebody of value to his life because he sucked all of the life out of you. I mean, if you when I look at her, and I know she's found God and she's transforming her life, but it's almost like a void in her eyes, like the life, the youthfulness, the happy, the joy has been sucked out of her. And when you have something like that pull out of you for such an extended period of time, the only thing you have left sometimes is hope. And that hope could be hope from God, right? You turn to God when there's nothing left. You're like, you know what? I am so depleted emotionally. I don't want to end my own life because I have children to take care of, but who can bring me this level of salvation after I've worshiped, right? Because if you think about it, just plain and simple, I wonder if she worshiped him, like she idolized him like a god. Even till this day, after he has disrespected her to the fullest extent of the law under God, under of like marital law, and law under God, he has disrespected her to the fullest extent. And yet and still, she's coming online, cursing people who speak ill against his name, cursing people who speak ill against her name, putting out these spells of poison onto the world. But when you make a man who is undeserving, a God, and you worship him and you feel he can do no wrong, and you pour so much into him that you no longer recognize yourself, that you feel that you no longer, your body and your spirit no longer belong to you. They belong to someone else, whether it's Derek Jackson or whether it's God, like actual God. That becomes dangerous. And so, I worry about her. I worry about women like that, women who get with a man who has nothing, let him prey on you to harvest your energy to build himself. He looks back at you like you are nothing, that you are less than, and he goes out and finds a woman who didn't do any of the work, put any of the sweat equity in, and now she gets to reap the harvest of what you've sown spiritually, emotionally, financially, or whatever it is. And so it almost becomes imperative as women that we ask ourselves, is this man with me because he needs me, or is he with me because he wants me? Because those are two very different things. A man who's with you because he needs you is a man who may be spiritually poor. Maybe you are rich in spirit, you're full of life, you have tons of friends, You have, a community, a tribe of people who pour into you, and he's spiritually void. So he may be with you because he needs to harvest the energy of likability. It may be a man who's with you because you are financially secure and he needs to harvest prosperity. He needs to harvest it. So he will use you for your money to build up his look, to change the way that he dressed, to fix his teeth, to fix his hair, to fix whatever it is, his skin, to fix himself physically so he can prepare a table for the next woman. Or it could be a man that only is with you because he needs you to nurture him like you're his mother. Maybe he has a bad relationship with his mother. Maybe he didn't grow up in a household where a woman poured into him. And because you have a nurturing, kind spirit and can pour into this man and give a space for him and raise him like a mother would, he needs remothering. And I think you need to be mindful of men who do not bring spiritual, financial, emotional, and a nurturing spirit to the table, especially if you are a woman who has harvested those things for yourself. And I'm not saying all women are perfect, because all women are not perfect. Women come with their own set of trauma and drama as well. But if you are a woman who has built a life for yourself, or are young enough to still and you're trying to figure out the life you want for yourself, do not seek or give yourself to a man who has not figured it out yet, because the man has to bring stability and protectiveness to the family. He has to bring stability. That is the point of a man. That's the anchor of a man, to bring a sense of stability so that the woman can use her emotional energy, whether it's her womb to bring life into this world, whether it's her mentality in order to stay focused, in order to continue to build prosperity for the family. Because while the man may bring the bounty, the woman can sometimes harvest the seed as the nurturer of the family. So yeah, you bring me the seed, man, but I'm going to plant it in the ground. I'm going to water the seed. I'm going to help nurture the seed. But the man has to bring the bounty. And if you get with a man who has not figured out how to bring the bounty, whether spiritually, emotionally, financially, um, intellectually, and you are a woman who's now being charged with bringing the bounty in all those capacities, you're going to find yourself being emotionally depleted. And you can find yourself, because when I look at Dania and Derek, I feel like she brought an emotional and spiritual bounty to that relationship through her connection to God, through her prayer warriorship, through probably praying for that man way more than she ever prayed for herself. Way more than she ever prayed for herself. I guarantee you she was praying for that man. Day in and day out, praying for him to continue to be prosperous, praying for his business, even to the detriment of her own family and her own mental health. And the question becomes, where is the reward for women who falsely worship men who are undeserving, who do not harvest for themselves and instead continue to pour into and harvest for a man with a piss poor mentality? Because I don't care what he was preaching to the world regarding marriage and relationship and love goals and etc. He had a piss poor mentality, and was spiritually piss poor in his household, which is the one he really should have been taking care of. Where's the reward for a woman who gives and gives and gives until there is nothing left to take? Where's the reward? And to me, from what I see, her reward is where she is now, full on psychosis. It comes across as, I'm not saying she's crazy, but it comes across as you have gone so far down the rabbit hole that even when this man has publicly come out and said, I am filing for divorce, after much consideration, prayer, counseling, etc., 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 I no longer wish to be in my marriage. The audacity of this man to publicly humiliate this woman after all he did across the internet, and then announce a divorce that she seems completely blindsided by. When a woman doesn't want to accept that a man no longer wants to be with her, it becomes not only dangerous for her because you have to live in that psychosis of like, I gotta fix this relationship that is irretrievably broken, but it also becomes dangerous for all the other women who will come into this man's life in the future. He was her first and everything, definitely, definitely. And that's a very dangerous thing. Sometimes as a woman, you have to explore your sexuality. I'm not saying go out here and be a hoe in different area codes, but you need to know what it is you want as a woman from all facets before building a life with a man at such a young age where you don't even know who this man is about to be, especially because he is not arrived yet. He had not built this business. If she had met Derrick Jackson at the peak of his business, successful, prosperous, on his Derrick Jackson, the man situation, YouTube channel extraordinaire, I guarantee you he would have never selected her to be his wife. I guarantee you. Never. Why? Because a man who has access to money, resources, opportunity, and fame will almost always choose a stereotypical woman that fits the facade of what he believes society thinks a woman should be. Almost always, not all. There's always exceptions to the rule. There are some men out here who just go ahead and pick a regular woman with a good heart and kind spirit, definitely. But for the most part, a man who figures it out later in life, he has the pick of the litter. He is going to pick the most beautiful woman that he can find, the most woman with the most fit woman, the woman with the most whatever it is he needs to in order to perpetuate his image even further. And he never even really showed her to the world. So how could you be proud of me as your wife when you want to hide me from the world? How could you say that you're proud of me as your wife when the whole world doesn't know that I am the vessel and to which you are using to spread your love into the world? And but the karma that Derrick will find, he will find this karma for himself. You cannot, under any circumstances, disrespect your wife to that level and ever be successful, because a man who does not take care of his family can never be rich. The humiliation and embarrassment and shame he has brought on that woman, not only will that karma follow him and put a stain and mar everything he tries to build hereafter, it will also follow all the women he comes in contact with until he heals what the trauma that he has caused to this woman. He needs to repent. He needs to go to counseling. He needs to stop philandering in the streets with other women. And he needs to seriously spend at least a year with himself dealing with all of his BS so that he can be forgiven by God for the shame that he has brought to that woman. Because every other woman he contact, I would be scared to deal with that man. I'd be scared to touch him. I'd be like, this woman out here cursing the world, casting spells upon anyone. You think another woman is gonna come in and she not gonna be in the prayer in the sanctuary praying, praying, I don't know what on the potential new candidate? Who wants to invite that level of spiritual warfare into their life? Who wants to invite that into their life for the sake of what? Dating a man who literally is caught in the public cheating on his wife. If he would do that to his wife, who was with him since he was a teenager, you think he's gonna have any decorum and respect for you at any point in this relationship? It's complete insanity. I was with the guy when I was 14 and say I was 23, the most horrible relationships I was ever in. Yeah, Ebony. And you know what? I'm not shocked to hear that, because when you are young, you are not even, especially as women. I feel like when we are young, the rat race to be married and to build what society thinks makes you a woman, right? So having a stable relationship, building a family, owning a home, having a good job, or being an entrepreneur, having some, two cars, a house, a garage, a white picket fence. That fairy tale life that's taught to us and shoved down our throats at a young age, from the Barbie era and Barbie and Ken and the fairy tale life. It's a very dangerous narrative to give to young women who haven't figured out who they are yet. Because if you don't know who you are as a woman, you cannot make the right choice in a man. You can't make, because it's a two-way street. Men don't just choose women, women choose men too. And if you don't reach that level of emotional maturity and mental and intellectual maturity, you cannot choose the right man, and you will end up in a relationship married to a man who will bring nothing but pain and strife into your life, because he has no clue who he is. He has no clue what his purpose is in life. He has no clue who he's meant to be, his passions. He hasn't solidified a dream yet. And he will bring nothing but pain to you. Nothing but pain. Nothing but pain. Whether he's cheating with other women, whether he becomes an abusive alcoholic, whether he uh berates and breaks you down because you figured out yourself and he still hasn't, so now he needs to pour self-esteem into you. It will bring nothing but grief and strife to your life. And then if that man just so happens to figure out who he is at a later point, he, you know, finally finds himself and builds himself up, you now have to risk, well, am I going to still be the woman that he wants to evolve? Now that he's evolved, am I still the woman of his dreams? Or was I just the woman of his dreams when he ain't have crap? Because it's very easy to be the woman of somebody's dreams when you're dealing with a bum. It's very easy. You got a job, or you got some income, you got a place to stay, you got a car, you got a little bit of money in your bank. Oh yeah, you the woman of my dreams. You the woman I always wanted. You're the one I always wanted to have. Always. Because he's a bum. But once he gets his life together, you need to ask yourself, are you going to be the one he always wanted? Are you going to be the woman of his dreams? Are you going to be the one he wants to continue to pour into? Look at what Derek Jackson is doing. Once he arrived, she became the woman of his complacency, the woman that he dumps all his pain on after he goes out and seeds the world. I'm going to seed the whole world. I'm going to give to the world and to all these other women. And I'm going to come home and dump the rest of the trash onto you and tell you to take it out. I'm going to leave you home alone in the bed. I think she said that she used to stalk the women that he would be interested in and try to become them. She was writing all of these crazy posts about doing all of this stuff. It leads to psychosis and delusion. And that's what will happen if you are with a man who takes and takes and takes from you. You will literally find yourself in a state of constantly trying to become someone you are not and fit an image that you will never be, because you have become fixated on being the woman of his dreams, because you are now idolizing him as a false god, and no good will come to you from that. Not a single ounce of good will come to you from false idolization of a man who is undeserving of any man. Honestly. They always say it's three chords in a marriage: you, your husband, and God. You should never put anybody above, whether you believe in like God, physical God in the sky, or you have a spiritual connection to the universe, or whatever your deity or beliefs are, whatever they are. You should never worship a human being more than you cater to your spiritual needs or your spiritual relationship with God or whoever that is for you. Never. Never, 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 never. And I worry about her, because if this man is telling you he want a divorce and you're in denial about it, that's scary. That is super scary. That is super duper scary. You know, and she's talking about doing courses with helping people heal through infidelity. And he's like, ma'am, I'm in Miami with Jenny from the block. Like, I'm in the streets. Like, I am literally down here with Petey Pablo and them, and I am out here in North Carolina. I'm in Miami. I'm all over. I'm all over the world with other women in the streets, with photos being taken by the paparazzi, putting out public statements of divorce. And if I was Derek Jackson, he need to be worried, because I don't know how much longer he gonna be in the streets philandering. Because once a woman turn on you and she start using that spiritual prayer to unleash something wicked on you, Derek Jackson, when the last time you had your prostate checked? When the last time you had your pancreas checked? Because she might unleash a spiritual unlocking on you. All of that good she put into the world in order to help you build your successful business, you had to have a strong praying wife for that. You never know. And if I were him, I would be careful. But to women out there, definitely, 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 definitely consider investing in yourself emotionally, spiritually, and financially before you decide to go out and date a guy who is full of himself or who has a mountain-sized ego, who thinks that he's God's gift to the world or God's gift to women. Pay attention to those red flags and make sure that you get far, far, far away from those men. Because a man who thinks that he's God's gift to the world is a man who thinks he's God's gift to himself. And that means he's selfish and only cares about himself and is self-serving in all his decision making. And he will never, ever, ever put you or your kids above his self-serving interests. And you will find yourself in a world of trouble, in a world of hurt, if you let him take and take and take from you. If he does not bring that bounty home for you to harvest, you will find yourself in a world of trouble. I think one of my favorite examples, and I'm not saying their marriage is perfect, because I don't know that it is. I'm only going off of like what we do know. One of my most interesting examples to use is Steph and Aisha Curry. I don't know if you guys like follow them, but Steph Curry reminds me of the kind of man who harvests a bounty and then brings it home for his wife to harvest. He's built a very successful basketball career for himself, and then he's come home and helped his wife, whether it's allowing, paying for nannies, whether it's being her space to talk about her dreams or whatever it is. But she's built several successful businesses for herself and established herself as a powerhouse in her own right. And they met when they were younger. They met when she was just a regular girl, regular Aisha Curry, regular at all different weight sizes, at all different facets of her life. He seems to be by her side and accepting and loving her for where she is and meeting her where she is. And I think that's why prosperity and success continues to follow them. No matter what mistakes they may make in their careers, they continue to have a covering over them. And I think it's because he goes out, gets the bounty, and brings it home for her to harvest and continue to build fruitfulness for the family, and not be out here in public scandal and stunts and schemes and scams in the streets, embarrassing your wife, who, at the end of the day, she's your wife. She's your wife. She is the woman that you chose. You don't want to put a gun in your head, that you chose under the eyes of God. She is your wife. Honor your wife. Honor your wife. Honor your family, and build something for yourself as a man. And when you do, bring it home for your wife to harvest. And I guarantee you prosperity will continue to meet you year after year after year. But that philandering, that cheating, that scheming, and that lying, it's gonna take away your focus and could potentially ruin your life. I think Shaquille O'Neal talked about it, and this is a little bit going off topic, but Shaquille O'Neal talked about it. Like, even till this day, he gets on social media platforms or podcasts, and he talks about how that's one of his biggest mistakes was losing Shawnee O'Neal. Was like, cheating on her and treating her poorly. I mean, they made 5 kids together. He he had a very successful life with her, and he pissed it away and decided to go philandering in the streets with all these different women, and it almost cost him everything. I think he talks about it on podcasts. Like, he could have lost everything because he was moving funny. Thankfully and prayerfully, Shawnee O'Neal found it in her heart as his former wife to forgive him, and that forgiveness came through him and helping her build Basketball Wives. Because he don't get it twisted. He was the one who helped make those connections. He was the one who helped make those introductions. He was the one that helped make sure she had something for herself. He repented for the sins he caused on his family. Even though Basketball Wives is a little toxic and this drama, whatever, he gave her that financial repentance, that acknowledgement of the pain you caused, that public embarrassment he's willing to face and not blame her for his shortcomings and be like, I'm the F up. She's a great woman. I screwed up. And even till this day, he's living with the regret of his decision, emotionally and spiritually. Because when God sends you a good woman and you fumble her, you don't recover from that. I don't care how much money you go on to make. If you don't repent for your sins and make amends for your wrongs, you will not be successful. And that's why I think Shaq continues to be successful and make good business decisions because he repented for his wrongs, he owned his mistakes, and he still, till this day, treats Shawnee O'Neal that she's the best thing that ever happened to him. Now she don't want nothing to do with him no more, but he goes over there, he laughs with her, he still jokes with her, he's very kind to her, he still holds her up on a pedestal in his life with other women, even though she's going to marry somebody else. You got to make amends. And if a man doesn't make amends after he's arrived and figured it out, well, even though Shaq was already successful when he met Shawnee, but if a man doesn't make amends and figure it out and apologize and truly deal with the drama and pain he's caused, there ain't nothing left for him out there. So, you know, to all the women out there, if you come across a man who drains you emotionally and is toxic to you, have no fear and fret not. Get yourself away from him and let him deal with the sins that he has caused on you if you have been a good woman. So anywho, that's my little random live for today. I just wanted to come on and talk about that topic. Like the live on the way out if you can, and let me know down below in the comment section if you enjoyed the live. Thank you to Garden Girl and Ebony Locks for participating in the chat and for keeping me company this morning. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye bye.